Now, with all moderately successful things are media dictatorial overloads at Disney swooped this one up for their own in 2020 and released this live-action movie on Disney Plus, putting their own Disney-esque spin to it. And I watched it out of morbid curiosity, emphasis on the morbid. I knew going into this that it would not be good. Just looking at the ads I saw, this looks so dumb. And the trailer, I already have a headache. I was hoping it would be a so bad it's good situation, but no, it's just bad. Black Beauty 2020 is a boring, bloated, butchered retelling of the Anna Sewell novel. It's narrated by Kate Winslet, and while the narration in the 1987 cartoon is sparse and inconsistent, Kate Winslet won't shut the fuck up. I understand that the entire point of the book is that it's a sort of autobiography of a horse, and Kate Winslet doesn't do a bad job. In fact, I think she's one of the best parts of the movie, second only to the horse, of course. But sometimes the narration is so overbearing and unnecessary. She narrates very obvious things, like not just the horse's inner monologue, but things that are happening right before our very eyes. Narrating the exact events of the plot is fine for a book, but for a movie there needs to be far more restraint. It's show not tell, not show and tell. This isn't first grade. The main actress's performance was very bland and unemotive, and there were points while watching the movie where I thought, wow, she's really giving off Bella Swan and Twilight vibes. Only to look her up and realize she was in Twilight, and she played Bella's daughter, so I guess she just doesn't have any range. The story of a sad farm girl who tames a feral horse that no one else can handle is not part of the book. What it is a dumb overused stereotype common in horse girl movies, and I would think Disney is above that, but I guess not. Beauty is not a wild horse in the book. He grows up on a farm. Beauty is a boy in the book, by the way. I don't know why they changed it for this movie. Beauty does not need to be tamed, even so, he's not fully trusting of humans, because he learns that some treat horses badly, while others don't. Now, I'll be bringing up the book much more in the review of Disney's version because Disney is obviously trying to recreate its source material more and attract people familiar with the source material. It's even in the description. But they also want to attract the young audience, in particular young girls who like horses. So, they have to replace a chunk of the story, the first half mainly, with something that's only tangentially related to the original. But they also have to try to stay true to the basic themes of the source material, so they end up doing what seems like so much more work in storytelling. And because the second half of this movie is so different from the first half, they've completely lost the portion of the audience they had halfway through the movie. And they failed to attract the other portion of the audience they were trying to capture because the first half of this movie is so stupid and indifferent to the source material. Why not just completely change the story? Maybe make a completely different horse girl movie and not call it Black Beauty, and or make something more mature and true to the book and call it Black Beauty. Instead, they added this sad story of a girl who loses her parents and has to go live on a farm with her uncle.
How's she doing? She barely speaks to me.
I don't need your sympathy, Uncle John.
And I think the point is to juxtapose with the horse losing her parents, which is something they didn't need to have happen in the first place.
Oh, you're like me because you lost your family and I lost my family.
Get it, kids? Losing your parents is a lot like losing your parents. It's just talking down to the audience. And since the main girl isn't really likable, her addition only hurts the movie. The snobby rich British people was another storyline that was very, very annoying. And I'll admit I ended up skipping some of these parts because it was so unbearable to sit through. All of the writing and the scenes involving the rich snobby Brits, particularly their snobby rich British mom, are just the worst. At one point, the stuck-up mom says something like, "Oh, gee, her son's flirting with the help." That's so gross. She literally uses the word "the help" in the year of our Lord 2020. The best part of the movie is the half an hour near the end where Beauty and Joe are separated and Joe isn't in the movie anymore and Beauty goes off on her own journey, and I don't have to see that actress and her 3 facial expressions. I think this part of the movie also gets deeper into the themes of the book about respecting animals and treating them with dignity, anthropomorphism, and the various forms of dependency we have with animals. We see Beauty as a search and rescue horse, as a farm horse doing difficult labor, and as a taxi horse in the streets of a big city. And throughout it all, she's treated differently by each person who owns her. We get to see different examples of different people's attitudes towards animals. Kate Winslet's narration is also better in these parts. It's more passionate and better written. Visually, the movie looks fine. I'll admit there are parts where it looks great actually. I mean, it's a Disney movie, they have the budget, but it's not enough to save a cliche story and flat characters. Black Beauty 2020 is too boring and formulaic for both children and adults. I give Black Beauty 2020 a 3 out of 10. I would not recommend. There's not much worth it. You'd be much better off reading the book. I read like 1 chapter while making this video and it was better than the entirety of the movie.